Let's continue Be'ezah Hashem, the Gavaldige Sugya that we left off with yesterday, and that was Avada Hilchos Tevilas Keielim, beautiful Sugya, Yeridei Simon Kufchav, a beautiful Sugya understanding, and we're going to try to direct it very much today specifically to how it applies in a business form, whether it's in an office, restaurant, hotel, and the like. Again, the shaylas are endless, mamish endless. As I keep preparing, I'm thinking of more things that we can discuss. Baruch Hashem, the Olim are also sending in emails, and some of the boys actually asked me themselves, what about this shayla, what about that shayla? So I would ask you if you possibly can email me, and this one I'm going to write down and compile a list of all of the shaylas that the Olim want to discuss, and I will try to do that. It's raw@basedavid.com, and this way we can try to get all the shaylas in. We left off yesterday with a gavaldige shayla, and that is using a coffee jar, a glass coffee jar or anything similar. Does it require tefillah or not? And right, and then Ramosha Shneimach told me clearly that it does. He quoted the Chazon Ish that said Avada requires tefillah. You've got to spit it out, which is what many Gedolim did used to do. But Lemaisa, most poskim, Maldiskim brings a tshuva about it, Ramosha has it, Nigus Moshe also, that you do not have to pour out the contents. And the simple reason is because I am using it as a klipa, as a shell, as a holder to bring the coffee from the store into my home. I'm not interested in the jar itself. I have no interest in the glass utensil. I just want to bring it from the store to my house, and the way that they package it is that way. The main I'm bringing it that way. I have no interest in that. Now the question is, can I reuse the kli? For example, can I take a coffee jar after it's finished, wash it out, and use it to store soup or something similar to that? So Moshe has a tshuva and he says that that's a vada mutter. Why is it mutter? I Tevilas Keielim, now you're using it. What's the heta? So Moshe says very simple. Because why did the company make it? They made it almanas to serve it. They're using it as a way of packaging it and serving it so you can take it home. But once you've done that, they expect you're going to throw it out. When you decide that you're going to use it as a kli, you're a yid. A yid decides to make it a kli, no Tevilas Keielim b'chlal, because you made it into a kli, and therefore it does not require Tevilas Keielim. Now, Rabbi said the emes is, when it comes to Tevilas Keielim, we can go on and discuss the shaylas, which we're not really going to go into, about actually toveling it, right? For example, the age of a child, can you give it to an under bar mitzvah boy to tovel it? Can a guy tovel it, especially there's a yid watching him? Even the tefillah itself, how do I hold it, right? Can I hold it tight? Obviously, I have to hold it loosely, because it has to be. This is not Haggadas Keielim, this is Tevilas Keielim. That means the entire kli has to be submerged into the water at one time. You cannot do a big kli half and then the other half. The entire kli has to be fully submerged. No labels, no chatzitza ach, right? We learned that from the pasuk. There has to be no chatzitza. That no labels have to be on. Mit she'ein motze b'di'evet, of course, will be makel, but the Ramah says, make sure that there are no chatzitzas, no labels, no stickers, all of these sorts of things. With the exception, by the way, if the sticker is a shvach to the kli. For example, if it says made in Italy or real crystal or something like that, and I want to keep it on that way because I want to serve it that way. It's like certain people in a certain country, you all know what I'm talking about, they buy their suits and they leave the label on the sleeve of the, because they need to walk around and show everybody what the suit is, right? In a certain country in the world. So therefore, if you want to leave the label on the container, that's what you'll be allowed to do if it's something that you will serve. Whereas a price tag, generally you have no interest in, and that's called a chatzitza, and that must be taken off. But again, these shaylas are endless. That's Hilchos Tevilas Keielim, which we're trying to direct it more to businesses over here. Let's move on, Rabbi. He said, Kli Suda, the Gemara tells us on Avodah Zarah, this Ridarshan Be'etzem, from the Psukim, that it has to be a Kli Suda. In other words, the only thing that is chayev in tefillah is a kli su'uda. That means this is a utensil that is used to serve and eat the food directly. What about something that's not a kli su'uda, that's never used to touch the food? There's no contact between the food and the utensil itself. What is the din in such a case over there? So again, without going into all the details of all the poskim had, for example, just to give you an example of Shulchan Aruch, they bring a case of a chatzuva. Yeah, obviously. A tripod, right? I remember one of my many letters to Rav Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal were about using a chatzuva, one for milchiks and one for fleishiks, right? I don't know the halachas, but we'll ask the chabur later, but I asked Rav Chaim Kanievsky that shaila, if you allow that, and he wrote me back, I have all the tshuvas, I don't know what this is. I have no idea. I don't know. You think he walked into the kitchen and he knew what a grate was, that you put the pot over the stove, over the gas? He had no idea what it was, right? There were a few shilas like that. That is like, I have no idea what this is. And it's like, oh really? Like unbelievable. The famous Maisa, they gave him the cassette tape, the olden days cassette tapes, and they said this was a tape of your father's share, a stapler. Wow, you can hear your father's share live. So he took the cassette tape and he put it to his ear. I don't hear anything. I had no idea. Moedik, Rabbi Sai. Al Kaponim, when it comes to that, the Shulchan Aruch brings that a chatzuvah does not require tefillah. Why does it not require tefillah? Because it doesn't touch the food. The pot goes over the grate goes over the fire, there's no tefillah. So anything that has no point of contact with the food and the utensil does not require tefillah in that case. What about, for example, an oven tray, a microwave tray, and all these sorts of things? So it really depends on, for example, you have an old-fashioned, not even old-fashioned, it's nowadays, you have the milk containers that they sell here in Eretz Yisrael to put the bag of milk in. If they would make a metal one, notice them are plastic, if they would make a metal one, does it require tefillah? The milk, you don't put the milk in there, you put the bag of milk in there. So Shlomo Zalman writes in Minchas Shlomo Chet Beis that if L'maisa, the rov ishtamshus is that it never touches the food, it does not require tefillah. So for example, if you have an oven tray, and this oven tray will basically never touch food, you would put the tray on it, on the oven tray, you know what I'm talking about? Then it will not require tefillah. If you always throw pita breads in there, or challah, bread, whatever, directly on the shelf, then it requires tefillah.
Isn't there a little thing that cuts the bag that touches the milk?
That's very good. Excellent question. You got a little knife over there. Very good. The insert of the jug. Is that a very good question? That's a shaila whether or not that's considered to be a kli suda. I'll tell you why. A pot makes the food ready to eat, or a peeler can peel the actual cucumber to make it ready to eat. But there are certain things, for example, a meat grinder, where you put meat, then it grinds the meat. So that doesn't really make it ready for me to eat. I still have to cook the food. It's a stage earlier. So that's a shaila if it's called a kli suda, and therefore many would hold the toilet without a bracha, because it's a shaila. So it could be it's a similar thing over there. It's almost like a can opener. Can opener, you have to toivel. Yeah, but what do you mean? That opens the tin so I can eat. But there's no shaykhs. It touches the food when it goes. That doesn't bring it, it's not a kli suda that brings it closer to eat. So therefore that would not require tefillah in that case. So kli suda is one thing. But there is a very important halacha, the Heilige Darkei Shiva, Minkadsha, brings, Medaik from Shulchan Aruch, of course, as well, that a kli schoira does not require tefillah. Meaning, kli suda that I use for eating purposes, that requires tefillas kelim. A kli schoira, for example, that's used for business purposes, does not require tefillas kelim. It's not nechal in the pasuk. It's not a kli suda. It's not used for meeting purposes. For example, a person owns a restaurant, and when he buys all the utensils for the restaurant, why is he buying the utensils? Because I need to make money. In order to make money, I need to have a kitchen, I need to have a dining room, I need to have tables and chairs, and I need to have plates and silverware and everything else in order to serve people. So why is he buying it? For business purposes, not for kli suda. He's not buying it to eat. He's not putting it in his kitchen to eat it every day for supper. He's buying it for a business purpose. That's called the kli schoira. So the Heilige Darkei Shiva, the Minkadsha, that avada, that's not included, and that does not require a tefillas kelim in that case. So the question is, what happens if the owner himself actually eats from the kli suda? In other words, he sits down sometimes for lunch and he uses the very kelim that he bought as a business investment. What would be a din in that case? So the shach, right, the taz all bring down in Yeridei Simukuf Chav that avada, then it requires tefillah because now he's using it as a kli suda. The Pri Chodesh, for example, says no. Mekel lemaisa, he bought it for business purposes, which means that if a person has a business, person owns a hotel, person has a restaurant, a catering service, a party planner, all of these things that they have utensils, and we're talking about utensils that require tefillas kelim, will l'choira not need tefillas kelim according to many. There are machmirim, but according to many would not require tefillas kelim. Why? Because they're made as a kli schoira, not a kli suda. It's made as a business investment as opposed to using for a kli suda, right? That's why he buys it. That's why he bought it. Therefore it's okay, right? Now, a similar idea. Okay, somebody has a business, and they're partners with a guy in the business, and they have an office, and in that office they want to buy certain things for the oilam to use, and he's a partnership, a yid and a guy. what is the din of a partnership on Keielim, or for example, a party planner, or caterer, or hotel, or anything, a restaurant that has a partnership with a goy in that case? So the Ramah says quite clearly that partnership with a goy will not require Tevilas Keielim. It's interesting, Svara, what's the pshat? Rabbi Kiva Eiger brings the pshat. Rabbi Kiva Eiger says the pshat is because it's still got the tomb of the goy there. Kolzman, the guy has a chelik in it, and you didn't buy the chelik off him, so therefore what? It has the tumah. So it's not going to help you to Tevilas, Rabbi Kiva Eiger. According to that, that's why the Ramah says if a yid and a guy have a partnership in a kli, in a utensil, it does not require Tevilas Keielim. Another case, the Gemara.
Would you use it then?
Okay, disclaimer: not talking about treif. We're not discussing hilchos treifus and how.
That's the ikar din tefillah.
There's no din tefillah on it.
Why? Why is the whole din of tefillah is after tumah?
Right. 1 second. If I borrow a kli from a goy, right? What's the din? Right. This was actually the next case. Right. I have a catering company. I have a restaurant. I have a hotel. I have whatever it is, and I'm borrowing a cleaner from a goy. Now, obviously, we're not talking about treif. I'm using it as decoration. I'm using it for cold. Whatever they're telling me, I have to ask the Yoder Chabura later. What's the halacha if you're allowed to use it? I don't know about treifas. I'm talking about Tevilas Keielim. Lemaisa. Do I have to tovel it belongs to goy? The answer is no. The tumah. There's no be'etzem tumah. The Rishonim was just saying the reason why it needs tevilah is because when a yid buys it from a guy, it goes from the ownership of a guy to the ownership of a yid. Now it needs tevilah. But calls when you borrow it, often the Shulchan Aruch, when you borrow a kli from a guy, or even you rent a kli. Again, we're not discussing hilchos treifus. We'll discuss kashrus another time. But al Tevilas Keielim, it does not require tevilah. I'm allowed to rent kelim from a goyish company, leaving out the shaila of the kashrus, and I'm not worried about tevilah in that case over there. If a yid lends or rents kelim to a goy, again without the shaila of kashrus, and the goy gives it back to me, in that case, it also doesn't require tevilah. There was no change of ownership, right? There are many shtaris that are written for mechiras chometz, which maybe we'll get to hilchos chometz at a later stage, allowing goyim to come into your factory, into your warehouse, into your office with their own chometz by goyim. We'll talk about it. But in the shtar of chometz sometimes is written up in a way that the goy, when he buys your house for Pesach, avadi, he's not buying the kelim. Because if he buys the kelim, then Matzah Pesach, when you buy it back from him, then you have a problem. You have to tovel all of your kelim in your house because the goy just owned it, and now you're owning it back. All your kelim need to be toveled all over again. So every normal Rav will write in the shtar that that's not included in that case, right? So let's just go over a couple of things. Electrical kelim. Electrical kelim halacha lemaisa, even though people say, oh, it's electric, it doesn't need tevilah because it's going to get ruined. As far as I know, and I'm not a scientist, as far as I know, water and wires have no problem with each other. No beef. No beef between water and wires. The beef is between water and electricity. Now, as far as I know, when you buy an electric kli from a store in a box, as far as I know, there's no electricity in the box. There's no electricity in the utensil. It's when you plug it in. Oh, beseda. So, when I don't plug it in, I'm okay. So I tell people all the time when they call up with shaylas to Tevilas Keielim with electrical items, I always say, toivel it, call me back if you have a problem. I never once received a phone call. Cool, because I don't answer my phone. But I don't receive a phone call because it's okay. As long as you give it enough time to dry, then it will be okay. The exception, of course, is if it's got, for example, an LED screen, or it's got a chip, or something where the water will actually get inside. A Cura, for example, is one of the famous ones. I don't want to go into now because that takes up a lot of time. There are certain heterim. Heter number one could be giving it to a Jew to take apart in a professional manner and re-put back together again. So it's as if the Jew made the kli, and therefore once he made the kli, I'm okay in that case. I can give it to a goy as a present and borrow it back. Some hold only if the goy is also using it in that case. Maybe you can go with Yoruch HaShulchan if it's kavua, it doesn't move around, it's not got a din of a kli. In that case, if the base is plastic, maybe it's a din maimid, that the maimid, boss of maimid, the maimid is plastic and therefore doesn't require tevilah. There are heterim. Ask a local Orthodox rabbi if you're allowed to use any of those heterim for something that you cannot toivel in that case. But halacha lemaisa, you go to the office and somebody offers you a glass of water in a glass that has not been toiveled, belongs to a goy, there's no shaila whatsoever, there's no problem whatsoever. I'm allowed to use the glass or the plate, of course, giving a shaila for kasher, which we'll get to in that case over there. The same thing with a restaurant, same thing with a hotel, unless it's a friar, unless it's someone who's Jewish, that's not religious, that hasn't toiveled it, which according to a Moshe will maybe depend if it's something like a schnitzel or soup and requires the container in that case over there. if a person that sells dishes or makes presentations of dishes to do for shlachmonas or for organizations where they sell beautiful glass platters with fruits and everything else on there, so some cover the container because it doesn't help to tovel it, and some put a label on it saying this was not toveled because it will not help to tovel it before it's in the ownership of the person that's receiving it. Rabbi said the shilas are endless. Mit Hashem, tomorrow we're going to start a brand new sugya. Have a wonderful day.